Hey there, balanced lady bosses. As you would have heard from the amazing intro that we started out with, I am joined by Gemma Went, UK powerhouse, and my business mentor as well as mindset coach. So, full disclosure, guys, I am a part of Gemma's coaching program, and I need it badly because I'm horrible at consistency, which is one of the reasons why we've been talking about me taking a sabbatical and just really trying to double down on what I'm creating as an entrepreneur. And Gemma is such an example of what it means to be authentic in your entrepreneurship. So I'm really excited to have this conversation with her today. Thanks, Gemma, for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm honored to be here.
Excellent. Now, we talk about boardroom bedroom bliss as the three pillars for holistically living, loving, and leading well as a part of the Balanced Lady Boss community. And I would love for you to share with us, Gemma, how your career has evolved into somewhat of a more spiritual, holistic business purpose, like all of the things. Like, how did you manage to navigate your way to attracting being an entrepreneur like this? Was it like, did you have this concept when you were a child, or has it just come to you over time and you have surrendered into it? Would love to hear your story.
Oh, I love that question. Yeah, you know what? It was never a plan. And I had a really good career. And I kind of fell into this, and there were the various circumstances that kind of led me to this. And I won't go into that now because I don't think that's the point of this story. I think the point of this story is that through my career, both when I was working with people and then in the early years of my entrepreneurship, so running this business. So I'm in my 9th year, it's almost a decade. And this is my second business. I had a digital marketing agency years and years ago as well. But through all of that, in the early years of this, I was very much working from, I would say, more of a masculine side of me. And I don't say this by saying masculine is bad and feminine is better or either or. Like, for me, you need to balance both, right? You need both of those in there. But I was very much in my masculine. I was very much on a healing journey. And a lot of my things that I were doing, I think, were ego-led, trauma responses, from lots of stuff in my life. And so I really got stuck in that push mode of doing more, being more, hustling to make me feel better, to make me feel enough, whatever that enough was. And it was in sort of discovering the negative sides of that. So, like if you push so hard, you're going to break at some point. Yep. And I started to get health conditions, right? You know this.
Yeah.
Started to get health conditions, and it made me look at what I was doing. And since then, and I would say it's been probably about 4 years that I really took notice of this. And then the last 2 years, particularly, really diving into this and doing a lot of healing myself. It was in my own healing journey that I discovered how I'd been programmed and what I was doing wasn't beneficial for me at all. And I needed a load of stuff to be worked on and healed. And it was through that healing journey that I guess led me to where I am today. It was in that healing journey, similar to you, like seeing the importance of that and wanting to bring that into my work to help other women avoid being in the same position as me. So it was a natural progression, because obviously I was teaching people how to grow a sustainable, profitable business. And I needed to bring in how to do that without breaking yourself, and how to do that while healing all of your stuff. So it was a natural progression, I think, because I'd learned that from my own experience.
Oh, that's really good. One of the first things that comes up for me when you talk about facing yourself, and stepping into that self-awareness. It was a very challenging process for me to face myself. First of all,
Yeah,
I didn't even know what face myself meant, right? It was like,
yeah,
oh, there's
yeah.
a whole thing. But as you're going through gaining more clarity and maybe shifting away from just sitting in the contrast of life, did you have moments where you felt just so uncertain? Because I feel that as I'm stepping into entrepreneurship now, I mean, and this is like a fulsome, immersive, yes, I'm going to do it. It feels, the uncertainty is like up here. And
Yeah.
I'm more self-aware now, so I'm being with it and not trying to hammer my way through it, but it is very uncomfortable. How did you navigate that uncertainty?
It's not easy. And you know what? We all suffer from it. It doesn't matter how much experience we've had, how long we've been in this game. There is always that element there. And for me, I think it's about understanding how normal it is, and that it's part of the process, and that there's an acceptance around that we will all go through it. And I think moving from, oh, it's me and I'm getting something wrong, to this is part of the process that we all go through, is a major way of kind of just shifting that, and helping yourself to kind of process it naturally. Because let's look at it, right? Entrepreneurship, and loads of people say this, and I say this a lot, it's the biggest personal growth journey you can ever go on. Every single thing that you have that you may need to deal with is accentuated in this world through all the things that we have to go through and deal with, right? And so every time we do something new, we are putting ourselves out of our comfort zone, and that triggers a response inside of us, and that triggers an ego response or fear. I mean, ego is all about fear and protecting us anyway. It's a good thing, but it triggers that, right? And that's why this stuff comes up, and that's why we get fearful of the uncertainty, because we're like, well, I can't guarantee I'm going to get these results, and this feels really scary, and all of those thoughts come up, and then it triggers all the other thoughts around, well, I'm not as good as anyone else, and they're better than me, and look at them doing that, and I can't do it, and all of those stories come up that trigger this even more. And it's just, for me, it's in knowing that that is part of the process, and I go through it. Everyone goes through it. I've got a really successful business. I still go through this now. Every time I move to another level, I wish I could tell you, Stacey, that it stops. It doesn't. Every time I move to another level, if I do something new, I get that, again, that uncertainty, the fear of it. And then I just need to work through it. And I do think it's in the acceptance that it's not you and it's part of the process really helps with that.
That's good. That's good. There is quite a bit of acceptance and a bit of surrender. 2021 was all about surrender. And for type A's, surrender
oh my God. Surrender is tough.
Yes. Surrender and ease, like, hey, let's do that.
So it's never easy, is it? You're like, it's supposed to be easy, this bit, it's not.
No, but I really like that you accentuate that, hey, just know that it's really not, it's not you, it's me. It's not me, it's the experience. It just is, right? There is
just is.
Yeah, there's no pointing that finger. No, that's excellent. Okay, now I want to shift to talk about the business, right? When I do reading and I look at the different online gurus like your Jeff Walker or your Tony Robbins or your Brendan Burchard, etc., or even Gary Vee, they seem to be in the digital marketing business, and they have a direct sales kind of business model. It seems to be pretty structured that way, even though they're selling events and they're selling, different types of downloadables or books or whatever. What would you say is the Gemma Went business model? What business are you in?
Yeah, I love that. So, and it's interesting because I am a digital marketer. Like, that was my career. I was a digital marketing professional working for huge global brands and massive campaigns. And so, that is my skill set. That's my wheelhouse. But actually, that's just for me one part of the puzzle. And when I'm working with entrepreneurs, and I work with men and women, but mostly women, because I think I just attract women. But when I work with entrepreneurs, for me, it's more of a holistic feel, because none of it works in isolation. And it's such a personal thing for so many entrepreneurs, particularly entrepreneurs building personal brands. But even if it's not a personal brand, it's such a personal thing. It's your baby. And so I need to look at it in a really holistic way and look at how all the different parts are working to make it just work in a sustainable, supportive way for that client. And each client is different. We all have different needs and different makeup. So for me, it's about sort of zooming out, looking at all of it, and just advising on all the different parts of the puzzle that client needs to get the success that they want. Because also, what we all think is success is very, very different. You've got people that they just really want to hit 7 figures, 8 figures, scale and create something big. You've got other people that's the last thing that they want, and their version of success is something completely different. So for me, it's about helping them create a holistic business that suits them on every single level, every single part, is completely aligned with them and their loves and their soul and their goals, and is sustainable, that it's not going to break them. And this is going back to that piece of stepping away from hustling within that, because that's not sustainable. And normally the business and the person will break after a few years. So for me, that's really the way I approach it, is looking at every piece of the puzzle and just making it all work together beautifully. It's funny, I've had a couple of clients say to me, when they've worked with me one, it's almost like I'm a conductor and the business is the orchestra, and I'm just conducting each part of the business to make it all sing and sound beautiful together. And that's a really good description of it. Like, I find it really hard to just zone in on one area of the business. I need to see it all working beautifully.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent metaphor, actually, because I was in one of the Steve Jobs books, they talk about him in that regard, just that, they were like, well, what do you do? Because you're not a programmer, you're not a designer, you're not, what exactly is it that you do? And he's like, I am the person that manages the orchestra. That's what I do. I bring all the instruments together and I make it work. And I totally understand what that looks like. I think one of the challenges that entrepreneurs like ourselves face today is explaining that to a traditional corporate head.
Yes, totally. Yeah.
They're like, what is the business? So yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Now, do you actually work with a lot of persons who are shifting from corporate to entrepreneurship? And do you find that some remain in both? Or do you find that if they don't leap over, they're not as successful?
Yeah, I have done. I don't specialize in that, but I have attracted corporates and ex-corporates purely because I'm an ex-corporate and I worked with brands, corporates, agencies. And so I think they feel comfortable that I get it. Like, I get that world that they've been in and everything that comes with that. So yeah, I have. And you know what? The ones that really do well are the ones that go all in. And most of them want to, like, once they've kind of really understood what they want to do and be in this entrepreneurial world, and they've seen the opportunity and the potential available to them, most of them don't want to do any of the corporate stuff anyway and just jump straight in and go, right, this is what I'm doing. And in fact, and if I think back on my corporate clients, I don't think any of them stayed in corporate. Everybody left and pursued their dream and their business.
Oh, that's exciting. That's very exciting. I am a corporate person that is migrating, and it is actually quite nerve-wracking.
It's hard, I think, because you've got one foot in your old career in your corporate and one foot in this new world. That's hard.
Yes, yes. Especially when you love what you do. I mean, it's one thing if you're fussing and complaining about work and you hate it, but I actually really love my work. And I think that that's just a really great recipe for doing your own thing, because you are already passionate and you're already probably plugged into your happy self. And it's now, hey, let's, so I actually thought it was going to be a lot easier. But it ain't.
It's a journey for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I want to shift the conversation to the bedroom space a bit, because you are somewhat of a mystery when you look at just your social media profile. I do see a lot of the dog pictures, which I love. One of my favorites the other day was snacks in bed, because I'm a new dog mom. It's been almost 3 years, but it still feels like I'm a new dog mom, because my kids absolutely love the dog, and it's a whole thing. And I'm still trying to navigate, don't do that, with, yes, I love you, So you do seem to have a holistic experience of love around you. Now, what is your support system like in terms of a partner, in terms of your family? What does that bedroom space look like for you?
I am quite private about my family life, actually. So I don't, you get the dogs, but I don't tend to share my husband and my son as much, because it's so sacred to me, and I like to keep that private, and I like to keep that to me. But I am married, and I have a 9-year-old son, and I also have a 21-year-old daughter and 19-year-old daughter. The 21 is from my husband's former marriage, and the 21-year-old lives with us full time, and she actually works in my business. So she is India in the Facebook group that's my daughter. So she joined the company last year on an apprenticeship as marketing exec, and so she's staying with me. So that's really lovely. She's kind of so we can we're at home, and we're often talking about work stuff. And my husband is really supportive. He's like the complete opposite of me. He has a role working for local government, and he manages huge road projects, like multi-billion road projects, and he's an engineer by training and thinks very differently, and so we are polar opposites. Like, I'm just a big risk taker and jump in and out of businesses and stuff, and he is very different, but it just works. And I think in the early days it took him a long time to understand what I do. I used to be playing sort of meditations and music in my office, and he would come in laughing, making whale noises and stuff, and just not understanding any of the things that I was doing, but it was always really supportive of it. And he's just used to it. It just works now. And so, the whole setup just works beautifully. And when I'm in really busy seasons, I try not to be, because I like to kind of have seasons where I'm just a lot quieter and not having to do a lot in the business. But when I'm in busy seasons, he's really supportive. Like, he does loads of stuff to help me. He does loads of stuff in the house as well to kind of keep the house running. So I feel very lucky that he's incredibly supportive of me. And my son, obviously, because I can work the hours I want, I can spend more time with my son. I take half-term school breaks off. We've got Easter looming, and we've got a week away in a lovely forest lodge, and so I feel like the business kind of really supports that, and they're really supportive of the business. My son's 9. He's already talking about being an entrepreneur and wants me to let him have a YouTube channel so he can make loads of money, but I'm saying no at the moment.
Oh, I love that. I've been actually trying to get my girls to start their YouTube channels, because I swear living with them is like a reality show. I'm like, you would monetize really easily, you teenage girls. You would. But your point about, it's almost like you have a home ecosystem for your business as well. For sure. And that supportive partner is something that I am experiencing now. Because when I met my what I call him my spiritual love partner, when I met my spiritual love partner, you know, for our first date, I sent him my assistant's phone number and email, and I said, well, you can book some time in my calendar. And
I love that.
he was like, okay, no, we got to talk about this.
That's really funny.
Which at that point he could have been like, no, this girl is crazy. I'm not booking time in your calendar, you know. And he's a CEO of a tech company, so it's not like he doesn't get busy, you know. And what has happened is he's been introduced to things like the 5 love languages and to the Enneagram, and because I wanted to get to know him in a way that would allow him to really see me.
Yeah.
You know,
I love that.
So I said, if you can make an appointment to go on a date, then you can definitely take this assessment so we can talk about who we are being. And I think he was both curious, fascinated, and like just in disbelief. You know, and he has, I actually thought he would have been taking a more active role in the company now. However, how he's shown up is very helpful, because what it's done for me is, one, he came on as a financial investor, which alleviated a lot of the pressure from the feeling about, you know, taking a sabbatical and working.
Yeah, of course.
And he's also kind of holding me at accountability like an investor. You know,
yes,
so I have to kind of think about it. And he's like, you know, you can't get this funding until I see your OKRs, and so there is that piece of it that's happening as well, which it's really, I didn't expect to create something like that. So it's kind of nice to observe.
That's really good. I love it.
Yeah. So I totally appreciate when you talk about just having that supportive partner. The meditation whale noises, I get that because it's new space, right? I think there's so many what I call closet conscious people, you know, where we're in this new world of consciousness, and maybe have been years, and it's a very sacred space, and I'm happy with it, and I don't feel like I need to necessarily let anybody understand or get it. If you do, great. If not, it's okay. And that's been an interesting journey for both of us as well.
Yeah.
So absolutely beautiful. Now, you have shifted quite a bit. You talked about this in the earlier part of our interview about wellness and healing. And that's really what the bliss pillar is all about, because I don't know how I ended up here. You know, this podcast is now going on. I started it in 2018. And it's been up and down, on and off, you know, but we're at 100 episodes. When this airs, I'll probably be at 110, 115. And the whole reason behind it was because of the breast cancer, the depression, and the divorce, and wanting to help other women avoid that overwhelm and burnout and really find their bliss, whatever that looks like, so that you can attract more of it, deliberately and intentionally invite more of it, because it's so key to our beingness. I actually think that when we're able to access our bliss, that's where the feminine energy comes alive.
Right. Yeah.
And as type A personalities, as go-getters, as go-getters, lady bosses, you know, we tend to leave ourselves on the back burner a lot because we are so in our masculine and we don't realize it, right? I mean, who's teaching masculine, feminine energy in school?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So in the space of accessing your bliss, what are your current bliss practices? Like, what are the things that make you feel delicious?
I love that. Well, I'm on a real journey at the moment, because like I said, over the last 2 years, I've really gone deep into just understanding why I am the way that I am and what's happened before. And I got quite sick and I had quite a lot of gut health stuff going on, all caused by stress. And so I've just been on a real journey to discover what those things are. And I'm still on that journey. So at the moment, I've actually just recently had an ADHD diagnosis. And the ADHD is what has created the stress in my body, which has then created the gut health stuff. So we're starting to link it all together. So I'm in a real season of healing. So healing the gut health, dealing with ADHD, and then resetting my nervous system, which has been in chronic stress since I was a child. So I'm going through this real kind of working with people to help me with this. So for me, finding that bliss and calming things down and just centering and grounding and connecting with me, the essence of me, has been really important. And it's not easy with all of this stuff swirling around still. But for me, it's really about that quiet time. I absolutely love energy work. I mean, I'm an energy practitioner as well, but I do an awful lot of energy work and energy clearing. I do it all myself. I also work with practitioners on it that can support me with it. So I do an awful lot of energy work. I love guided meditations. I'm not so good at meditating myself because my mind is just too active, but guided meditations are an absolute for me. Journaling really helps me to just get back to me again and to just get things out of my head. And I think that really helps with the ADHD as well. And then the final thing that I absolutely live by is grounding and bare feet on grass and just connecting to the earth and connecting to the energy is really important, because I can kind of, you know, when you lose yourself a little bit and you go to a space where you might be panicked or anxious or fearful or any of those emotions, for me, just taking myself outside and just trying to quieten the mind, feet on grass, and just allowing that connection is beautiful. And that really grounds me and brings me back.
That's so good. Did you find that having a home space that facilitates what I consider to be a spiritual blissful journey? Did you find that having a home space that supports that is like uber important?
Yes.
You know,
hugely. Like this, where you see me now, this is my office.
Yes.
And this is my sacred space. And I energetically cleanse this all the time. I've got about 42 crystals in here, 17 plants.
Oh, wow.
And so this really, you know, I've got an altar over there with crystals and various things. And so this is that space for me. And it's sacred, and it's obviously my office as well. So, you know, when I close the door, I can finish work and then go into my home and just be home and be mum and be wife. But equally, it's also just my space to do those things, to practice, to sit, to listen, and to journal. And so it's so important to have this. You know, I think if I couldn't close this door and have this private time in this room, I think I'd struggle a little bit, actually.
Yeah, no, I get that. I love the 17 plants. My daughter, who at first used to really make fun of me using words like, you know, the things you're choosing and being intentional and seeing yourself. She has more crystals than me. Her room is all, you know, she has it like draped with ivy and she has her meditation area, and it's just fascinating. I remember, so I've created intention cards, and I made them pretty early on in 2018, and I shared them with her then, and she was like, okay, Ma, whatever. And I remember her friends were so excited about, oh, your mom is so cool. You know, she, and I just wanted her to appreciate that I was tapping into a different side of me. And I walked into her room a few weeks ago, and I saw by her mat where she had like her incense and all that, that she started pulling cards.
Amazing.
And it felt like if I never sell another deck of cards, I
Right?
would have done it. Like this,
Yeah.
this is it.
Your work is done.
Your
That's
work is
brilliant.
done, So when you
There's my
talk about,
legacy right there.
absolutely, so when you talked about having all the crystals and stuff, and I do see
Mm,
the beautiful one behind you, I thought about her because she's really just stepped into this space.
mm.
It's like you plant a seed and you don't know where it's going to go, and she's just taking it on all on her own, and it makes me so proud
Yeah, I bet.
of her
I bet.
exploring this uncommon side of life,
Yeah. Oh,
as
I
a
love that. That's beautiful.
yeah, so a lot of fun there. All right, so we're actually towards the end of our interview time, and there's one question that I do sometimes ask my guests, especially for someone like you who you deal with a lot of women that would fit the profile of my community. And if you were to give a piece of advice around how to really navigate this space of being woman, entrepreneur, um, mom, wife, all the things, and still manage to come back to center, to come back to yourself. Maybe it's a tool that you use, maybe it's a quote or a story, a fable. What would you share that is one kind of anchoring or grounding tool or that you sometimes lean on to get back to center?
For me, it's the self-trust piece, because I think we can so easily lose ourselves, particularly in this space when we may be starting up a new business and we're listening to lots of different coaches and mentors, and we can so easily disconnect from ourselves and question ourselves. And for me, and I say this to all of my clients, that even like when they're working with me, there is no better mentor than yourself. Like the wisest person in our sessions is always you. And so for me, the guidance is always return to you to make your decisions. Don't base it on what other people are telling you to do. Like we can advise, but at the end of the day, the final decision always has to be you. And so leaning into self-trust, and then just trusting your own intuition in everything that you do keeps you in that space, because it's so easy to just get drawn into things otherwise.
Yes, I think I find that for myself. I think
Mm,
I'm an immersive learn, relearn, unlearn.
yeah,
And it's also because I am a teacher, that's how I started in tech, was training, and I loved it. And so I tend to go back to that a lot. So I tend to
yeah,
want to learn. I want to take a class. I want to go be with a coach. I would much rather that than implement something,
yeah,
Let me just
yeah.
learn some more. Let me just learn some more, So, you talk about self-trust, which I think is in many ways attached to believing in self.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And the building of that muscle. How would you say you build that self-trust muscle?
I think, do you know what? It's always knowing that however it turns out, it's right for you. And so if you always return back and just trust yourself. And the other thing is, I think quite often our judgment can be clouded by one or two moments when maybe something went wrong. But actually, if you go back and look at all the decisions you made across your life when you did trust yourself, the facts are there. Like you've always done it. You've always been amazing. And, the subconscious will always try and search for
Yes.
that thing that you're obsessing with. So if you're saying that, oh, I'm not good enough and I can't do this and I need to learn more, I need to work with other people, the subconscious will seek out the times and the experiences when you needed that.
Yes.
But actually, if you just stop that and search out the facts, like all the times in your life when you've made the right decision, when you've trusted yourself, there are going to be way more of those than when you didn't. And so just returning to that fact.
Yes.
And knowing that whatever decision I truly make from my own intuition, from my own inner wisdom, is the right decision for me. And then just keeping on doing that.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point, because we don't often think about what I've done in the past, because it's almost like we throw it out the window. Like, I did
Yeah.
it okay, but this is a new thing and I need to, tackle it. And I don't know if I can tackle it. And to build that, I really believe that belief is a muscle that you can build.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. By looking back, looking at those universal breadcrumbs that have come along the way with you, you can definitely find tidbits, gems that you can use for yourself to say, yeah, I figured this out. I did it.
Yeah.
At that point in time. Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Gemma, for agreeing to share from your space just about your life and your world, and for being a part of the Balanced Lady Boss community. You're now officially inducted.
I love that.
And I do wish you amazing success with everything you're doing and with being that lighthouse. I truly enjoy being a part of the community because I find that your authenticity is encouraging. It encourages me to just be me. And then the work that you give us to do is real work. So that also helps, right? To appeal to the type A. So good luck with everything. Good luck with everything. And thank you again.
Thank you so much. It's been a joy to talk to you.
Excellent. Excellent.